All right, please be joined now by senior from Stanford, Karl Vilips. Just played in his first U.S. Open this summer. No big deal. Finished second at Pinehurst in the Northern and Southern Amateur. A lot going on this summer, but how are you doing, Karl? What's been happening, man?
Doing well, thanks, Garrett. Just played a few events so far this summer. U.S. Open was obviously pretty cool, but just kind of grinding down here in Orlando, getting ready for U.S. Open, which I'm leaving for tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah. Well, U.S. Amateur coming up
Oh
here
yes, sir. U.S. Am.
at Cherry Hills in Denver. It's interesting when I look at this summer playing in your first U.S. Open. You had your coach, your swing coach, Cole Swatton, caddying for you. What was that week like? You said on Instagram that you learned a lot about yourself. Like, so what kinds of things did you learn about yourself in high level competition like that?
I think just being in that environment for a whole week. So I got in there pretty early. I think on Saturday or Sunday, and just kind of getting accustomed to everything. I learned really what it took to be at that level. You know how the guys prep on the range at the facilities, and then versus that on the course. I think that just kind of showed me where I'm at and where I think I'm at, and then where I need to be. So that was really the big takeaway that I had, and then just communicating with my coach, who obviously caddied for Jason for many years. Just kind of seeing how he goes about the process during the practice rounds and taking notes throughout the tournament as well. Just way beyond kind of what I would expect of myself. So my expectations kind of grew a little bit as far as preparation and, you know, planning out a strategy for a course. And then just it was a pretty humbling experience. You know, I didn't feel like I played that good, didn't feel like I played that bad. And, you know, it was just pretty easy couple rounds of 2 and 3 over. But overall, it was an awesome experience. And yeah, I did learn a lot about my game and myself that week.
Was there I don't know, were there any players that you had never seen before, got to meet in person, some of these stars, some of these superstars of golf? Like,
Um,
which ones might come to mind?
I think I'd met or seen a lot of them in person or heard them talk at least, but seeing them on the range was a lot different. You know, warming up next to Scotty or Rory, you know, that was really cool. Just, you know, the whole gallery is just focused in on one person and you're right next to them. So the first couple of days I got there, I was pretty nervous. But hitting next to the guys is really cool. Just seeing them how they go about it, with all their trackmans and quads and everything. Um, but yeah, no, that was really cool. And then obviously playing with a couple of guys, it was great seeing, you know, a lot of those top level players.
So you guys played your Stanford guys, like a lot of members from your team, like you guys try to play practice rounds together. What was that camaraderie like? And then also any other players that you played with that maybe you hadn't seen before?
Yeah, so our practice round on the Tuesday was really cool. It was me, Michael, Barkley, and Alex, and it was just kind of like any other competitive round at Stanford in qualifying or whatever. You know, you just throw a little two-teamer out there, have a little best ball fun, and you know, soak it all in. You know, you're at the U.S. Open, all the grandstands and everything, and it's just quite surreal. You know, you're walking down hole 9 at Stanford in a qualifier, and then you're doing the same thing at the U.S. Open, and it's for real. So that whole experience with my teammates was awesome. You know, I'm sure we all would have loved to have played better, but having it in LA as well, like in California, you know, we had a lot of support from the school. You know, our coach was out there, so that was really cool. And then we had another fun practice round. It was myself, Michael, Gordon Sargent, and Preston Summer Hayes. And then the only one I played with pros was with Kurt Kitayama, Taylor Montgomery, and Justin Suh. And that was really cool. You know, just a bunch of TaylorMade guys. Got along pretty well. And just seeing kind of how each of them had a very different game and approach to how they play, and just kind of soaking it all in, trying to learn as much as I could off of them.
Yeah. Well, I know Kittyama and Suh are pretty good buddies. So it's just funny that you can get some pretty good vibes, I imagine, from different groupings and stuff like that. And I'm also thinking you mentioned Michael Thorbjornsen, who has been on your team with you basically every step of the way, right? It's been you
Yep.
guys going into senior season. Um, what is it like seeing him play really well? Remember, he had a top four at the Travelers a couple years ago, and then also kind of growing with him. What is that like for you guys, kind of getting to the next levels here?
I think it's cool and it's also very inspiring. We've been friends for I think the first time we met was when we were 6, US kids stuff, and then seeing each other grow and get better over the years has been really cool. And then really develop at Stanford has been, it's really been cool to see Michael start playing really well. He's hit form, and watching him succeed is great. But obviously, it's like I would love to be doing that instead, so it pushes me to work harder. Um, and I think it's just great being on campus and practicing with someone who's better than you. Really, just consistently trying to beat them and be better than them, and it's someone to look up to, throughout the years. So it's been really cool. What my best friend, just consistently, playing so well at the moment and being a front runner for PGA Tour U. So it's going to be really cool to see where he goes in the next couple of years.
Definitely. And when you talk about being on campus, Stanford, I think about you guys winning the Pac-12 and going through something like that. How enjoyable is that? How does that feel?
Winning Pac-12s was awesome, especially last day, big comeback on home turf. It was awesome. We had a lot of support coming down the last few holes, and it's not something that we get at any other event. Um, and we obviously had our home tournament this year at Harding Park, so it wasn't quite the same. So to have it be the conference championship instead of that one at Stanford and to win it in comeback fashion was pretty special, and to have everyone on the team there playing and not playing was really cool.
Well, I love you mentioned Harding Park because I think about the draw to go to Stanford, right? Like you called it heaven, right? You just love the campus, you love that part of the world. So I'm curious, as you're becoming a NorCal guy, so what are some of the courses or maybe some of the specific holes in Monterey, in San Francisco that you've really gotten to like out there?
So I really enjoy. It's actually kind of out of the Bay Area, but TPC Stonebrae. I just think that's so fun. You can shoot 80 or you can shoot 62. Just depends how you're hitting it. I really like Lake Merced. I think that's a super solid course. Um, and also Olympic. It's really fun. I know that there's a couple courses there. We've played the par three and the championship one, and the championship one when we played rough was up, so it was pretty tough and a good challenge. But when it's cold, windy most of the year in the Bay Area, those courses are a totally different beast than when you play them in the summer.
What's your best round at Olympic so far?
I shot 5 under in this little kind of inner tournament that we do, and me and Michael tied for medalist in that thing, and we got like towels with our names on them. It was a funny ordeal, but no, that was definitely my best round, and that was a fun day, competing with him.
Well, as you talk about Michael, like I know you guys been roommates, obviously going through this whole process in college golf. What's a memory that so far comes to mind about one of your favorites so far for you guys in your time at Stanford? I mean,
Oh,
there's a lot to choose from. I mean,
there's a lot. There's just a lot of funny things that happen on the road. Um, it's tough to. I just have such a good time with my teammates. I mean, it's really tough to single out one event that comes to mind. Um, ugh, man, there's so many.
and you
Um,
can chew on that too if you want.
yeah, let me sit on that one for a little bit. We'll come back to that.
Well, as we talk about Stanford, what are you really excited about for senior year? You got one more year left. What's really pulling you?
I'm just really excited to play. It's obviously a big year with PJ Tour U. I think I clocked in at 24 on the preseason rankings. So I'm just pumped to see what I can do and put in a lot of work to get up there in those rankings because that's obviously really important to me. And I'm also excited to graduate. It's been a quick 3 years. First year kind of flew by because of COVID, and the journey's almost over, which is crazy to me. But I'm excited to kind of get out there and see what I can do. during the season, and then hopefully right after that.
Yeah, there's just a lot going on. Well, for you also too, what would you like to do in golf? Like, where do you, I know you've talked about wanting to be number one in the world before, but what would you like to kind of accomplish from this game?
I mean, yeah, that definitely would love to be number one in the world. Um, when I was younger, I'd say I want to break Tiger's records, but the game, everyone's getting so good now. I don't think anyone's touching that. But I mean, out of this game, obviously next year it's big. It's a huge stepping stone into the next level. And then hopefully once I get there, it's just win as much as I can and play as well as I can, and obviously try to be number one. And I'm just really excited. I love competing and love competing against the best. So I'm just pumped to get out there. And yeah, like I've said, I just can't wait to see what I can do.
Well, see what you can do. We got US Amateur coming up here right now in the forefront. What are you excited about for Cherry Hills for next week at the USAM?
I'm excited for more match play. I had a pretty good experience in match play at the North and South earlier this summer, and I hadn't really had a great history at it. I feel like I'm starting to get better, and obviously you got to get there. And I'm just pumped to go back into some match play style golf and play someone one on one. And there's a lot of rounds of it at the USM, definitely more so than the North and South. Um, but USM at Cherry Hills, I mean, it's going to be so good. Colorado Golf Club looks awesome, and I'm just pretty pumped. I've never played in Colorado, so I'm really excited for that as well.
So how are you going to take on these elevation changes? Have you talked to any pros or any friends of yours that have played those courses or elevation courses?
Not really. I mean, I've heard it's going to be 5 to 7,000 feet elevation. My coach is bringing, not my coach, my caddy, sorry, is bringing a simulator, so we'll be able to test some distances on the course and get a really good gauge of how far the ball is traveling. From my experience playing in elevation before, it's you know drives are going to go miles. It's just going to be a lot of position golf, which is also nice because then you're laying up with less club. So I'm excited to see exactly what it is. And it's never a problem when you're just going to always hit it further.
Yeah, and I know you had your girlfriend on the bag, I believe, in Illinois in the Western Amateur. Who do you have for this week coming up at the AM?
So I have my junior golf coach, Stephen Bosdosh, caddying for me. He caddied for me at the Southern earlier this year, and also the sectional qualifier, which you may have seen him at.
Yeah, where you guys got through as co-medalists with Isaac Simmons.
Mm-hmm.
You made it through round of 16. You beat a Brad Dahlke. You said that was your best round ever. At that point in time, this is 3-4 years ago, at Pinehurst 2019 USAM. Is there a round since then that kind of trumps that one, or what are you thinking?
Mm. Uh, yeah, I mean, I've had a few good ones, but I think just the way the course was set up and everything, I don't think there's one that quite tops it at the moment. Potentially one of my rounds of sectionals this year. Actually, I just played really well, but I think under the circumstances and the course, the conditions, having it being the USAM, that was also me being I think 16 or 17. I still will classify that as like my best round ever.
Yeah, that was gutsy, all things considered. What we were talking earlier about favorite memories with Michael Thorbjornsen and other players on your team. And when you get to that, let me know. But I was going to say Akshay Bhatia has been what you call a rival in junior golf. Can you think of a time where you guys had a pretty good one-on-one or a good match that comes to mind there with Akshay, having just beaten your Stanford alum there, Patrick Rogers there in Reno?
Yeah, I think our closest. Oh, yeah, I got good ones. I think the Youth Olympics, which were in Argentina in 2018, we had a duel down the stretch. There was some back and forth scoring, a lot of two-shot swings. I think I was four down with like eight to play, and then I brought it back, and then he went two ahead. Then we brought it back tied, and then I birdied the last to win by one. Um, it was just a lot of great golf down the stretch, and that was definitely probably our closest battle, but I ended up taking it there. But yeah, no, like you said, it's really cool to see him win, uh, finally out on tour, because he turned pro early, and it's nice to see him have some success on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, yeah, getting that first win on the PGA Tour in Reno just a few weeks ago. And when I look at other good players that maybe you've spent time with, I think about Rose Zhang. I would imagine you've played some golf with her over the years. And is there like a story at all that illustrates how good she is? Like it's hard for us, at home to understand like her talent, but I mean, is there anything that comes to mind playing with her or any of the girls on the women's team?
Yeah, I think just observing her over the last couple of years will kind of speak for itself to why she's so talented. Like, when I think I show up early to practice, she's already there. I go to class, I come back, and she's still there. She obviously went to class, came back, has lunch already made, and then practices till dark. Like, she does that every day, and then comes on Saturday, plays in the morning as well, which I joined a couple times. But it's just her work ethic is unbelievable, and all of her success, I believe, comes from that. I mean, it's like I could probably tell you in detail what her routine is at Siebel on a daily basis, but we won't go into that. But it's just her work ethic is outstanding, and there's no wonder why she's so good.
Yeah. Well, as we think about players that are your peers like that, I look beyond that also too, just about who's a player, maybe a pro now that maybe you look up to and kind of get advice. I don't know if you get any mentorship from any guys on the pro ranks or have gone through college golf and are now in a different phase of their life. Anybody like that, or you kind of get that from Cole Swatton or?
Yeah, no, I definitely say that Cole is my biggest inspiration as far as understanding what it's like on tour and how I'm going to get there. He's very blunt with me on everything. And ever since I've been working with him, I've worked a lot harder than I did before. I understand the game a lot more. And, he's just been great to talk to about golf, what it takes, and all of that. So he's been a big help in my crew. And I hope to continue working with him. My swing itself has gotten a lot better. And like I said, my understanding of the game. So I would say he's the person at the moment that I'm kind of speaking to about the next level.
So I'm
But
trying to get a sense.
I do have my thought on that memory earlier. I'm gonna tell you
Yeah,
before I leave it.
yeah.
We had a um like an Easter egg hunt, but kind of golf incorporated. And our 6 year senior last year, Nate, he captained it, and all the guys on the team came together, and we spent a few hours on a Sunday morning just doing basketball incorporated drills, but with golf. It was just a lot of fun. That whole day was awesome. And that was probably my favorite memory, just being around with the guys, racing in the carts, running, falling over, screaming. It was just a lot of fun,
Man.
and it was a perfect day.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I mean, it's nice to have days that you can kind of look back on and kind of reflect and enjoy when it's all said and done. When I reflect and actually look back at your career, I think about for listeners who have never heard of Karl Vilips and don't understand where you're from, kind of like your background, give us a sense of how you got started in the game, because I know that it's a pretty unique story, the way that you were able to collect a lot of golf balls and then exchange them in for, like there's a lot of grit that went into it for you and your dad back in the early stages, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think even now I forget some of the small intricate things that got me to where I am. But yeah, definitely collecting the golf balls during the evening at our local course, to then buy my first set of, I don't know, US Kids clubs, or buying gloves, like using that to pay for basically all the essentials I needed to practice, was really the first foundation to the career ahead. And from there, my dad and I just went and practiced pretty much every day, and I fell in love with it. And he loved being there for me, and teaching me and coaching me while I was a junior. And eventually, that brought me to the U.S. on a scholarship and an academy when I was 11. and I basically went through that whole process at boarding school and academies, all the way through graduation, and then now I'm at Stanford. So yeah, to think like where it started, and how I had to get into the game, and then to where I am now, I think it's pretty cool.
How many golf balls did you have to find to exchange for a golf set of golf clubs? Like, what
Oh,
did
I
that
mean,
work like?
so many. I remember I would I would also go. This is pretty disgusting. I would go into the garbage cans on the course, and I would find the sleeves and the boxes that balls came with. I would bring those boxes home, if they were clean enough, and would have so many of that ball collected that I could basically fill dozens of boxes and balls with that same ball. And that's how it happened. Like over 2 or 3 years, I probably collected 7,000, 8,000 balls. I mean, my whole room was full of boxes, and I would sit there, I would clean them, I would organize them. I loved it. Um, and then that ended up paying for everything. There are a lot of places around town that were accepting those.
This ain't no hobby, man.
No, no, no.
So 7,000 golf balls got you what, a set of clubs, or it got you the clubs, the gloves?
Oh,
Like
it
how did
got
that
me
play out?
everything. It got me everything for like 3 years. I was pretty close with the coach or head professional at my local club when I was 5, 6, 7, and he would say, I don't know, 1,000 balls for this and that. And I definitely still had plenty left over, but basically whatever I needed, I could trade in for balls, or I'd end up just using them on the range, or to play with them. So I never had any of the snazzy things, the decked out set of clubs when I was 6. It was just pretty standard, like whatever I could find, I used, and didn't start getting serious till I was like 9 or 10.
Well, and you went to the junior world the first time when you finished seventh with clubs that were like 6'7", 5'6",
Yeah,
right? Like
they
the
were split irons, so like a 9/8, 7/6. Gosh, I think I had 7 or 8 total clubs. I didn't know what I was doing.
but
Didn't
you
know what I was getting myself into.
yeah, but you beat over 100 people, you finished seventh. You go back the next year, you win, and then you win it what, three other times after that at 9, 10, and 12. I mean,
Good time.
what that feel like, man?
Winning those was awesome. I think whenever I go back to Pinehurst for the North and South, even now, I just reminisce on I stayed in that hotel when I was 6, like it's still there. I go to this local golf shop in Pinehurst called Roberts Golf every year, and I've been going there since I was 6. And we have pictures of the wall with the staff since 2008, and it's just great. Every year going back there and seeing them, and then whenever I would win, I would come in, take a pic with the trophy, and it's just cool to have people like that in a community like Pinehurst that you've won at, and you can come back and see, and continue to see. And hopefully I'll be there next year again for the Open.
Yeah, gotta have those goals, man. When I think about also getting in Australia, this is Perth, Australia, right?
Yes.
Where you originated. What was the name of that course where you would go find golf balls?
The Cut. Tough course on the ocean, windy, prime losing golf ball conditions. Just walk a couple holes and find 100 a night, probably.
I mean, did you have like wildlife you're fighting to get these things, like snakes or any lizards, anything, or what?
Oh yeah, definitely. My dad would always make me go kind of under the bushes that he couldn't fit under, like because I was nimble and little, and I didn't really ever think about it. I don't think I ever ran into any snake issues. Definitely some spider problems, but I think that we should have been a little more concerned than we were, for sure. But like I said, I was just having too much fun to even think about that stuff.
Love it. Absolutely love the grit. And also just the vision that your dad had. When I look at your YouTube channel, going back to, all the times you played with Min Woo Lee back 5 years ago when he walked with you guys and filmed you doing everything. He's documented everything. I go to your website, Karl Golf. He really had a lot of vision. Your dad, Paul, that he's put into this, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, starting the YouTube channel was huge. I mean, it was able to fund a lot of my trips to the States, to even have the opportunity to win tournaments like the U.S. Kids and the Junior Worlds. Um, and he still even posts now. I mean, it's fun to go look at like swings when I was 6, and it's all there. Like I can see everything. He has files in the storage, and I'm really grateful that he was able to film everything growing up, because I'm able to look back on those memories from when I was 6 through now, and just see kind of how the game developed, how my swings developed, and yeah, it's been cool. There were definitely times I was like, I don't want to do this, like it's stupid, just peer pressure in a way. Um, but now it's like, I'm so glad we did all that. Like I wouldn't really be here without it. So I'm really grateful for it.
For sure, man. Well, and also Australia. How often do you get back home to Australia?
Probably go back once a year, either for a tournament or just other things. My dad comes over here a lot, so there isn't really any need for me to get back over there. It's just such a long way and it's expensive. So I'm gonna go back for the Asia Pacific this year, which is gonna be at Royal Melbourne.
Yeah, you can't miss that. And I got to ask you about that. Royal Melbourne, one of the great crowns of all of golf. Like, how much are you looking forward to that course? How well do you know it and that event? Like, be able to play that event one more time.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty special. I mean, I've played there a little bit over the years. We had Junior Presidents Cup there a couple years ago. Not a couple years ago now, like 4 years ago, and it's an awesome place. I mean, it's as pure as it looks, and what people talk about. So I'm just excited to be back on home turf, trying to win a title there, and get into the Masters. Every opportunity is a special one, to play in, the Masters, and I think it might get me to the Open as well. And I felt like I was pretty close last year in Thailand, and I think definitely being on Royal Melbourne, being a course that I've played a bunch before, should be an advantage for me.
What's your best round there?
I shot a 4 under to have the lead, the first round of the Australian Master of the Amateurs a few years ago. I think I was like 15 or 16. I won't talk about the other 3 rounds, but I remember that was the low round. But this, I think the Asia Pacific, so they're going to do a composite setup, which is both courses. And that one specific round was on the East, which I think they use about 6 holes from the East. So it's tough to say, really, for the setup that they're going to use for the tournament.
Hmm. Well, I'm not going to ask you to pick a favorite course in Australia, but what are like 3 or 4 favorite holes? What's that?
Metropolitan Golf Club is my favorite course in
Oh, well,
Australia.
there you go. Why is that?
I don't know. I just love it. I mean, the whole Melbourne Sandbelt's pretty special. Every course is unique, even though they look and kind of feel the same. They're all very different. And for some reason, Metro fits my eye really well. I've had a lot of good memories on that course, and it's pretty tough. So I like that one a lot. And then obviously Royal Melbourne, it's got to be up there. The West course of Royal Melbourne is really fun.
Mm. Well, you were talking about playing for the Junior Presidents Cup like 4 years ago. Trevor Immelman was out there. Gary Player. You spent time with some of those guys. What was it like to play for those teams and to be around some of those big stars?
Sorry, I lost you there for the last 10 seconds.
Yeah, no worries. I was just going to say, having played Junior Presidents Cups in the past and being around Trevor Immelman and some of those guys, how cool was that? And what do you take away from those captains?
Uh, I mean, I think you'd be surprised kind of the role of the captain in those events. I think they're just there to boost you up and make sure that you're having a good time. I mean, they'll give you advice if you ask for it. I think it's kind of like a college coach, when they're following you around during the season. He won't give you advice unless you ask for it. But having Trevor there was awesome. The stories. It was him and I think Stuart Appleby was a captain as well one year. Just having them talk about stories from their personal President's Cup experiences was really cool. And then obviously being on a team with a bunch of my friends, from Australia and that I'd known through junior golf was really cool. And then also competing against a lot of the guys that I played, in the AJGA with, was pretty sweet.
Definitely. Well, when I look back on your younger years, how old were you when you first were able to consistently hit the ball about 300? Because I know driving's been a strength for a while.
Yeah, I think I was 14 when I started getting the swing speed up to about 113, 114. I remember when I got fitted into a purple O-band shaft, I was definitely hitting it about 300. But the big benchmark for me was hitting it like in the air 280 when I was 13 or 14. I remember because I would practice in Hilton Head at Sea Pines, and I was able to carry the range one day. And I was like, whoa. And then from there, it just never stopped. Like for the next 3 months, I just kept gaining like 5 yards a week. It was crazy. And then obviously I had to start dialing it back to get straighter. And then now I probably hit it the same distance as I did then.
I was looking online. Your first hole in one was at Torrey Pines South Course, right? Number 16?
No, it was at Sycuan Resort, hole 16, in the Junior Worlds.
Junior World. Okay. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, what was that reaction like? How'd that feel to get that first ace?
I remember it was a little par 3 course. I just kind of jumped into my dad's arms, I'm pretty sure. And then we took a picture, which I still have. But other than that, I don't really remember too much of that hole in one, to be honest. I do remember that it was a 6 iron and it was hit slightly thin. That's all I remember.
Well, actually, that's my only ace in my life was a 6 iron. I thinned at like dusk at our local community.
Yeah,
My dad happened to tag along, so he was with me too. But that's great, man.
most of mine with a 6 iron.
What's that?
That I've had most of mine with a 6 iron. It's kind of crazy. And there's been like one maybe with another club, but it's all been a 6 iron.
Well, how many total do you have?
I have 8 now. My last one was an 8 iron. That was actually, you know what? Thinking about fun memories on the team, that was
Yeah,
one of
yeah.
them. We were in Cabo on our
Okay.
at the Cabo Collegiate, and we were playing a course before the event started called El Dorado, and it was a pretty chill place. I was wearing my Dame Lillard jersey, shorts and flip flops, and a bucket hat, and I just pulled this 8 iron, and we thought it went in, but we couldn't tell because him was over the bunker, and we all just ran, and we saw it in the hole. We all went nuts. That was a lot of fun.
And this was like Michael and everybody, like the whole
This
gang,
was
or
playing with Michael, Barkley, and Ethan that day. So
the,
we had a blast, and we played basketball afterwards. It was just a good day.
and you got a lot of different things you guys do. I know you and Michael are also huge music guys, like big time music guys. I mean, are you listening all the time during practice, or like what are some of your artists that you love?
Yeah. I mean, if I'm not listening to music while I'm practicing, I don't know, some days I like to just listen to the ball, but if I'm going to be out there for 3 or 4 hours in the steaming hot weather right now, I'm going to be listening to music. At the moment, Travis Scott, Utopia just came out, Post Malone as well. And then I just kind of like a bunch of different songs from a very, very broad range of genres. And they're all just on like this playlist, and I shuffle it constantly. And, I just listen to that. I wouldn't say I'm as big into finding new music or discovering it as much as I was during COVID. Um, but I still just love listening to music.
What would we be most surprised to hear on your playlist?
Um, right now, one of my favorite songs is this song called "Religiously." It's a country song. It's really good, but I don't know. I feel like I played it in front of my girlfriend, and she was pretty surprised that I was listening to it. But and definitely some Ice Spice. That's probably just like a little thing of mine. Some of her songs are just good, and when I'm driving, I like to listen to them.
Well, hey man, really a lot of fun catching up with you here on Beyond the Clubhouse. Thanks for taking the time, and good luck at the USAM and your senior year coming up, man.
Yeah, thanks, Garrett. Thanks for having me on.